Through a series of events I'd prefer to mostly keep off YouTube, I have repossessed this 1989 Jeep Comanche I sold to my friend Cam. We call her Cherry Pie. She's got a few new issues. At the beginning of winter 2 years ago, the engine unexpectedly overheated. It took a few tries to properly diagnose the issue. We replaced the water pump and thermostat, Cam wired in an aftermarket temperature sensor to override the electric fan, we flushed the radiator and verified the clutch fan works, but it would still overheat just idling there with the hood open in the dead of winter. Something was terribly wrong, but we couldn't figure it out. The truck sat there in his yard for months while I was busy being in states that aren't Wisconsin, and Cam was pretty much doing nothing. In that time, he managed to lose the key for it and continued to show a lack of interest and motivation in the thing. Remembering how clean that truck is, it pained me. I would sneak into his yard and try to fix it sometimes while he kinda just did nothing. With some peer pressure from the Cherokee XJ Discord server, I gave him his money back and took the truck into my own hands. I couldn't rest knowing a perfectly clean Florida Comanche was sinking into ruin for no reason, but now I had two major issues to contend with. Firstly, without a key, I need to get it started, and then it can only idle for like 3 to 5 minutes before overheating. There is a wasp nest inside the driver mirror, so that's cool. I was able to get it started without a key. I have disassembled the lower dash and taken off the steering column to access the ignition switch, which we conveniently have a reference right here. It's that thing. There's a rod that plugs into the bottom of that, and you move the rod forward and backwards to change the modes that the truck is in. So just by moving the whole ignition switch with that rod plugged into it, you can start it and shut it off and everything. I'm leaving the truck in neutral. It will idle and hold temperature if you hotwire the electric fan. It cannot steer because without a key you can't unlock the steering column. But I can drive a tow dolly in here, and the truck will drive itself onto a tow dolly, and then I can just drag it somewhere else. A tow dolly? Really? Come on now. I haven't given in yet. I'm confident I can figure out a way to drive it home. You can hear the fan running. That's the only way it won't overheat instantly. But the electric fan is not the keystone of a cooling system. It's the last line of defense. Although I can start the truck by effectively hotwiring the ignition switch, this doesn't allow me to steer it. I could just physically break the steering lock to get around that issue, but a long time ago, you might remember, I actually got another Comanche steering column out of a Pioneer at a junkyard. The plan with this was to convert the truck to a column shift instead of a floor shift. Why? Because it's cool. That column shift steering column included and still has its matching key. So by swapping the whole column, I can get everything back to operational standards. I did run into an issue with the ignition switch though. It was a different part on the donor column, which confused me because it came from the same year, 1989. This new ignition switch didn't work. It was dead, but I couldn't put the original ignition switch on there because it didn't fit. I would later find out this is because the truck originally had a tilt column, and this donor one is non-tilt. They'll have a different ignition switch depending on this, so for now, I just let the original ignition switch hang by the wires, operating it with a screwdriver until I can get a new one for a non-tilt column. This fixes the key issue for now. I can start and steer it, but trying to drive anywhere, the engine just immediately overheats.
So here's this sort of clever concoction I've come up with to fix the shitty cooling system in this thing. The cap, where'd it go? Right. The cap won't seal pressure. Like it doesn't fit on the threads of this. So in order for that to seal, I just put a rubber glove on it and tightened a hose clamp around it. So now it doesn't leak at all, and it holds pressure and it stays cool and everything works. So if your cap is, or the bottle or whatever, I don't know, you can just seal it with whatever you can think of.
The plastic bottle on the Renix cooling systems is notorious for issues. After decades of expanding and contracting, the threads for the cap don't seal and hold pressure anymore. I did try a replacement cap, which confirmed it is the bottle that's compromised. Now, you can still buy these coolant tanks new, but I need to make a video on the open loop conversion, the 91 Plus system with a radiator cap, so this thing isn't getting any new cooling system components until then. That rubber glove actually held for months, and as of making this video, I still drive it like that. Gotta replace the glove every month or so when it starts to rip, but it has never overheated since this glove idea. So you'll see it in the background in many future instances, still working better than AMC's OEM design. Now equipped with a disconnected column shift, I could drive it home and see what new issues await us.
Uh-oh. Wait a minute. Is that just the fan? Oh, Jesus. Bruh. I lost 2 of my water pump pulley bolts for no reason. That's pretty great. Also, look at this shit. Look at that pulley wobbling on there. And
I guess when we replaced the water pump, we failed to properly torque the bolts on the pulley because they all started falling out. I drove it with these 2 remaining bolts over to a hardware store and replaced them in the parking lot. Now that we're back in business, here's what I want to do with this thing. It's a 1989 Jeep Comanche Eliminator, the race truck trim, 4-liter automatic 2-wheel drive short bed. I've always wanted to lower one of these things and recreate the spirit of the Sport Truck Championship. This is the perfect candidate for it. There's no rust, it's already 2-wheel drive so nobody can euthanize me, and I got a guy in Louisiana to sell me a set of carbon fiber MJ lowering leaf springs. It's already coming together. I'll go all in. Smaller tires, delete the power steering, delete the AC, and of course it's going to need a manual swap. But at that point, I don't think I want to keep it Renix. I thought about this for a good long while. What I won't do is get rid of the 4-liter. Obviously, I understand very well the 4-liter is not a race car engine, I get that. But to strip the MJ of its 4-liter is to strip the MJ of what it is. Mostly though, it's the only engine I really understand. Sure, I could put a big block LS or some kind of a Hemi in it, or a diesel swap, or even a 2JZ. There are infinite options for engine swaps, but the 4-liter is home to me. I know it well, and although it doesn't make much power compared to these other options, there are more ways than just power to make a truck faster. I will not add forced induction either. I don't understand all that enough to get into it. Maybe someday, but not for now. I think the main priority is getting rid of the Renix electronic system. Now Renix is great, don't get me wrong. I actually quite prefer a Renix for a daily driver, but it's not very optimizable for race truck. And I do say race truck very sarcastically. It is a box. I understand it won't ever be that fast. So I could do OBD2. I could take a donor XJ and swap everything over to make this truck run on OBD2, which can be tuned, it can be messed with, and already makes better power than Renix. The main issue with that is you have to swap everything. The dashboard, the steering column, you got to modify the firewall, all of it.
Install the engine and the wiring harness. So this was pretty much gutted down to a complete bare shell. All the Comanche wiring had to be ripped out.
It has been done before, and it's a lot of work. But something in me just doesn't want to put a 97 Plus dashboard in an MJ. It feels wrong in a way I can't describe. So then, what about OBD1? If the donor was a 1995, this would include the new style brake booster, the best flowing stock cylinder head, and I could keep the old dashboard. But the problem with OBD1 is, like Renix, it isn't very modifiable, not very supported in the way OBD2 is. But with, say, a 1996, well, that's OBD2 with the old style dash, and not just cosmetically, electronically. If the donor was a 1996, I would get OBD2 with like half the work it would take to 97 plus swap the thing, which I don't want to do anyway. I've never even driven a 96 before, and as one of the widely considered bastard years, this would also give me a great opportunity to learn everything I can about 96.
What is that? That's hot. It like... Yeah, 96 is going to be really fun.
They have their own one model year fuel pump, for example, without a return line that mounts on the side of a metal tank. That would just fit right into the MJ's fuel tank, as opposed to trying to get the whole top-mounted assembly thing to work somehow. This is all hypothetical for now anyway, but it sounds interesting. Imagine Cherry Pie, effectively a 1996 Jeep Comanche. In all this, though, one more thing's for certain. It will not be four-wheel drive. I refuse to drive this truck in the winter. It's actually impressively incapable of driving in the snow. The heater doesn't work at all, and I intend to not fix that for the simple fact that I won't be encouraged to drive it when it's cold. The salt they use on the roads in the Midwest just annihilates these old Jeeps. Here's some perspective. This is my XJ I bought 3 years ago, rust-free. Now there's a football-sized hole under the pedals. This is after just 3 winters here, so the MJ will not be getting any reason to drive it in the snow. That means I have this kit of Renix 4-wheel drive swap parts that need to go somewhere. I bought all this stuff for Cam, he never paid me for it, and now we're not going to use it. But Steiner sure will. He's got this 1988 Comanche 4-liter automatic 2-wheel drive long bed and intends on doing a 4-wheel drive swap. We arranged a trade. I'll give him all this 4-wheel drive stuff in exchange for a 2-wheel drive AX15, and also an engine in there for other unrelated reasons I later abandoned. As it happens, Steiner was headed up to Minneapolis with that original old blue truck, so I met him at the Mall of America, and there these two were, reunited again.
Holy Christ. It's giving us animated instructions on first floor. So we're going, we're on the 3rd floor. We got to go to the 1st floor and then end up by whatever that says. I think that's where we need to be. Look, it's the backyard again. And the orb from Blackreach. You ever play Skyrim? No. Oh. No, I don't know if I could do that one, Steiner. And they're dead. But look at this. This is what we're after. Look at the scale of that thing, dude. The infamous pick-a-brick wall, where if you want to find individual obscure pieces, this is where you come. Look, they got bones. They got steering wheels. They have clear things. Studs. See, the magical thing about the pick-a-brick wall, Steiner, is that if there's one exact brick you have in mind that you're trying to find, it's not on here.
After the parts trade, I finally got around to replacing the ignition switch and can now start it with the key instead of a screwdriver.
You need to be able to turn it far forward enough to start the engine. So you can see the key attaches to that rod, and pulling the rod back will shut off the ignition switch, and pushing it forward will turn it on. Something I should have done when we first got the truck is take the bedliner out. So this is the first time I've got it out, and this is great. This is what you want to see. There's no rust anywhere. There is a whole bunch of missing paint, and you might be able to tell it's all wet under here, like it's just damp. The moisture will get trapped under those bed liners, and it'll start to rust out the bed. So if you buy an MJ and it has a bed liner, one of the first things you should do is rip it out, just to check out everything under here and make sure there's no rust forming. But this looks great. You know, obviously there's a ton of leaves and shit in it, but
Then I heard local rumors of an alleged junkyard with Comanches way up in the frozen, uninhabited tundra of north central Wisconsin. Now, when I hear a junkyard has Comanches, plural, well, me and Clay went to go scope it out.
we got a blueberry MJ. It was the same color as mine, but it's a short bed, and it's got the blue interior, and it's a column shift 2-wheel drive bench seat. We got this other Comanche here. This is a 1990 4-liter long bed, and this is a short bed, and oh my god, only time I've seen this many Comanches in a yard is at Steiner's, and there's another one right there. Still got the AMC logo. It's an 87 with the blue and the bench seat and good sun visors and vent windows and a topper and a tail light still. And look at this. That thing still stays open. Look at this. The column shift indicator not only still works, but it's still properly aligned. That is unbelievable.
Suffice to say, this yard was more than a gold mine. This was platinum. They have 4 MJs and 8 XJs. Most of them are mostly complete. And this is to say nothing of the various CJs, DJs, whatever this thing is. And they even have a 1996 with basically nothing missing. I took the cluster out of it in case the donor I someday get is a base model. They had 3 2000s, this 1985, oh just wait until you see the interior on this one. This MJ rusted in half, killer sound system. This box of plastic gears is for the emissions maintenance light. That was on a timer. It apparently turned on every 85,000 miles. Brave of AMC to assume that system would still work after 85,000 miles, but it's the thought that counts. Renix cruise control, very hard to come by. The bench seat with headrests, only for the last 3 years of MJ. And this truck, this one with the bed and frame cut off, this is actually a 1989 2.5-liter AW4. Yes, you heard that correctly. 1989, not 87. 2.5-liter, not 4-liter, AW4, not A904. I'll make a video about this situation. This is one of the rarest Comanches there ever was. But anyway, look at this XJ.
You know, it's a junkyard. Dude, 98,000 miles. How many, what? I don't even know what engine's in this. It's a 5-speed though. I don't know what year it is, but this interior is beautiful. And it's complete. Like I could put this whole interior in that truck.
It's like a red velvet cake in here, man.
Yeah. And it's got a sunroof. Wow. This is a carbureted 2.5. It's what year? For 1985 model year. So this was the second model year Cherokee. Wow. And it's still got the 10-slot grill. This red one is a real shame. First of all, here we have the bastard style temperature gauge with the blue and red markings. And, well, it only had 98,000 miles before it rusted out. And look at how clean this clock panel is, man. I don't think I've ever seen one so clean. I gotta get that.
This 1985 was a real shame, but man, let me tell you, something spoke to me about this interior. I have to get it. This first trip was meant to be a scouting mission, didn't really come here with the intention of buying parts, but I grabbed the door panels and the center console at least. I'll come back another day to get the whole dashboard, the trim pieces, and the seats. Not all of it will work in an MJ, but most of the front stuff will. But man, we had a good haul. Got an ECM cover, the Renix relay box cover, some radiator hoses, and a fan shroud. You know, just small things we could pick up quick because we were there like 30 minutes to closing time. Anyway, don't worry, I went back the next weekend and brought Expo with to help get the dash out. We took everything, and this time loaded it up in the truck to cart it all back home. That red interior is going to sit for a while. I'll put that all in at the same time as a 96 swap because the dash has to come out anyway. I think that's enough adventures for this video. In the next one I'll tackle the column shift swap to get that actually working, replace the very bad engine mounts, and take a trip over to Bunny to deliver him that engine Steiner gave me. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you then.
Race truck.
It is a race truck. Do it again. You got it to backfire.
I want to key bang it, but I don't know if you'll let me.
No.
Have you tried it?
Well, it doesn't really work in an automatic.
Well, have you tried it?
No.
You want me to try it or no?
No.